the biggest hits and who needs to step aside. And guest co-host Chelsea Clinton is giving her post-debate wrap-up and taking on rumors she wants to run for Congress. Could there be a big announcement at the table? Plus, she's the actress and activist who helped ignite the Me Too movement. Alyssa Milano on how she's showing the next generation it's never too early to voice your view. Let's go! Here come Hot Topics with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Meghan McCain. Now, let's get things started.
Joy will be here tomorrow. And, you know, she happened to be walking past. And she said, well, let me go in and see how these girls are doing. Joining us as guest co-host today, please welcome activist and co-author of the book Gutsy Women and pretty good girl, woman in her own right, Chelsea Clinton.
Thank you. Thank you. Morning, everybody.
So, before...
You have got some big fans back there. I see you, ma'am. Yeah, they love you. I'm just happy to be here.
Yeah. Listen, we're glad to see everybody. We are. We're glad everybody comes out because you don't have to come to us. You could go to another show and you came to us. So yay for y'all.
Yeah.
We have to start by asking, because apparently there are rumors that you are considering running for Congress. Now Congresswoman Nita Lowry is not seeking re-election. Is that rumor? Are you thinking about it? Or
I'm not considering running for Congresswoman Louis C.
No, why not?
Oh, well, thank you, Sonny. Oh, gosh, thank you. You know, but Whoopi, I understand why people are asking, and someone has asked me some version of this question for literally as long as I can remember. I don't know, Abby's nodding. Like, one of my earliest memories is being 3 or 4 and someone saying, like, Chelsea, you're going to run for governor of Arkansas one day. And, you know, I share that because I think it's a
2 phút 287 người.
Question that shouldn't just be asked of people whose last name is Clinton or Huntsman. It's a question we should be asking kids, like, do you think about running for office one day? Young people, women, and I hope that if the answer to that question is yes, I'm considering it, that you'll really think about doing it and go to run for something and other resources that exist to help you do that.
Do you think you ever will?
I don't know, but right now the answer's no.
Okay.
All right.
You just had a baby. I just had a baby.
3 kids.
3 kids.
Did you get any sleep last night?
I actually got the most sleep last night that I've gotten since Jasper was born.
Good.
I slept
That's a good night.
almost 7 hours.
That's a good night.
Yes, ma'am.
Enjoy today while it lasts.
I mean, I feel like I have superpowers because I got a good night's sleep last night.
There's some disappointed people in the audience, but it's okay.
One day you might. You never
Maybe.
know.
Maybe, but not now.
Well, there's a lot of not disappointing things happened last night, apparently, on television. And as the Democrats met in Ohio for the 4th presidential debate, and the biggest target, apparently, of the night was Senator Elizabeth Warren. Take a look.
Costs will go up for the wealthy, they will go up for big corporations, and for middle-class families, they will go down. I will not sign a bill into law that does not lower costs for middle-class families.
At least Bernie's being honest here and saying how he's going to pay for this and that taxes are going to go up. And I'm sorry, Elizabeth, but you have not said that. And I think we owe it to the American people to tell them where we're going to send the invoice. The difference between a plan and a pipe dream is something that you can actually get done.
I agreed with the great job she did, and I went on the floor and got you votes. I got votes for that bill.
Well, okay. Clearly, I guess they think Elizabeth is the one to beat right now. Did she hold her own?
I thought she was terrific, actually. You know, she is the lady with the plan. It's clear that she is obviously the front runner, at least in their minds, because that's why she was under attack so much. She never lost her cool. She didn't lose her pacing. I think that's what you need to do in a debate. She had the most time speaking. She spoke for 22 minutes and 32 seconds, as opposed to, let's say, Kamala Harris, rather, who spoke for 12:24, and Booker spoke for 11:19. So, I mean, you know, she took up the majority of the time. I think it was a misstep, though, with her Medicare for All plan, because we know she's the lady with the plan, but she's not really explaining how she's going to pay for it, and they pounced on her for that.
Time and time again. I give Mayor Pete, and I think Amy Klobuchar, kudos. Mayor Pete, who I've liked from the beginning, but I thought last night was his best performance yet. He came out swinging. He's in that moderate lane. Klobuchar's there, but Biden also. But he delivers what Biden is saying, I think, so much better.
He's a great debater.
And so if you were just reading this debate, the transcript, and you didn't know their age, you didn't know what they look like, you didn't know much about them, I think the way that people were polling today would be very different. I think the way we'd be talking about them would be very different. His numbers in fundraising as well is, you look at his campaign coffers, he has $23.3 million compared to Biden, who has $8.9. Money they can spend right now in their campaign.
Does he
money
have a
speaks.
Plan? Listen, money speaks, but BS walks.
He hit back on
plan, and just because you got money doesn't mean you
have a plan. And what I like about him is he says, let's live in reality. If you want to win this election, you got to give people a choice.
So what has he said that,
so he's saying
that
on
got you fired
for example, he's all for, like, let's find better health care and more options for people, but you can't tell the American people, you don't have a choice in this. He also had a great moment with Beto O'Rourke on guns, when Beto said, I'm going to go in people's homes and take people's guns. He said, this is a purity test. That's never going to pass. So let's live in reality once again. I think that is the way to beat Trump. If you go so far to the left and say, we're going to live in this world that's never going to exist, you're not going to get people in the middle. Yeah. They're going to have no option but to maybe vote for Trump again. That's what's going to happen.
Well, if that's the only option for people in the middle, then it's not the middle.
Amen.
That's not the middle if that's the only option. What'd you think?
Oh, I have many things to say. Last night I was live tweeting it because there's only so much time in these segments. I will say I thought Warren did a terrible job, and she was on her heels all night, and it showed just how vulnerable she actually is.
We watching the same debate.
I disagree. Yeah, but I'm watching it as a Republican. You're watching it as a far left progressive. I say that with respect to you.
Oh, I'm not a far left progressive at all, actually.
Compared to me, you are. Compared to everybody in this room, it is. It's fine. But I will say, I actually thought Mayor Pete came out swinging really hard, and I thought it was quite impressive. I don't know what Beto's doing other than running for MSNBC host coming up. I'm sure he'll get a good hour. That's right. Tom Steyer's Christmas tie was deeply distracting the entire time. And I want to say Andrew Yang brought up the topic of automation. The only reason why we're talking about automation is because an entrepreneur from New York, not from California, I messed that up when he was on here, brought it to the forefront, and he had a way better answer than Elizabeth Warren did.
And also, I think, you know, it's one of the things that people slammed your mom about, because people forget that, you know, it's not immigrants coming over and taking your jobs away. Your jobs are being phased out. They are being done by machines. So let's be realistic about what's going on and find ways to get people, to encourage people to find new ways of moving your life ahead when, you know, because we've seen it happen when automation comes in, a lot of stuff disappears.
But Whoopi, at least on the Democratic stage, those were issues that were being discussed, right? At least, like, gun violence was discussed. At least opioids were discussed. At least universal health care was discussed, and not treated as a pipe dream, but treated as something that has to become reality in our country. And so, to me, like, just the contrast to Republicans, with all due respect, Megan, could not have been more clear because of what we were talking about last night. And I liked that we had this dynamic, strong conversation.
Can I ask you this?
I'm supposed to say that. Do you want this thing? What is it? It's a moment from last night that you all were talking about this morning, and you, Chelsea, were talking about it. Take a look.
We are seeing all over this country women's reproductive rights under attack, and God bless Kamala, but you know what? Women should not be the only ones taking up this cause and this fight. And then it is not just because women are our daughters and our friends and our wives. It's because women are people, and people deserve to control their own body.
So that was kind of a special moment, I thought, last night, because so often, with all due respect to the men in the audience, when women's rights are discussed, men often start with as a father of a daughter, or as the son of a mother, or as the brother to a sister, or as a husband to my wife. No! It shouldn't matter. Like, our human rights are our human rights, and those should be respected and protected and advanced because we're human beings, not because of your relationship to a woman in your own life. And I was so, so, so grateful that he made that point so strongly last night.
He did.
That's a good point.
He also said as a vegan at one point, and I was like, you got the vegan point locked and loaded.
You're right.
Got it. I was like, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
Maybe I'll ask both you guys this. But why won't Elizabeth Warren answer the question on whether or not the middle class will have their taxes raised with the Medicare for All? Because she's very good at spinning.
I think they're going to be raised, and I think they're going to
Sanders said it.
They're going to save money by, let's say, perhaps not having the insurance premiums that so many of us have when we go to the doctor. So
but why
perhaps
not
they'll
just
have more
say
money
that?
in their pockets. But I think you have to, if you look at the breadth and depth of her plan, the money has to probably come from taxing the middle class as well. I think that's just the truth.
She can take some of that money, that $1 trillion that Amazon is sitting on.
Yeah, well, that's what she was saying initially.
Well, no, you know, the only one that said it is Andrew Yang. And I still don't understand why that idea of $1 trillion companies, which is something we've never had in this kind, that we've never had in the company before. Well, you know what? Let me shut up. We'll be right back.
Still ahead, Alyssa Milano on why she decided it was time to reveal her sexual assault nightmare on a movie set.
All right, so welcome back. So I'm going to finish making my point. I'm going to try to make it more succinct than I was doing. In 2018, 60 Fortune 500 companies paid zero federal income tax, according to the Institute of Taxation and Economic Policy. Companies like Amazon, Delta, Chevron. Amazon became a $1 trillion company last year. The idea that I don't mind if you're not paying your taxes because you've built this amazing company. This is still America, where we say you can come here and build a company. I'm all for that. But if you're making if you're a $1 trillion company, we should be benefiting from that as people who are, maybe part of families whose companies have been closed because you've opened this gigantic thing. That's okay. I don't mind that you're making money. I like making money. But when you become a $1 trillion company, you need to pass some of that on. And that 2 cents that you want to take from me after all the taxes that I'm paying for, your phone tax, you don't know what your phone tax is for, do you? You don't know what any of those taxes are for. You're traveling on the highways, you're paying a toll. You're paying taxes just to stay here. I want some of that money back, and I want it from the places where we spend a lot of money, and those are those big companies. That's what I want them to tell, because people can't send their kids to camp because they can't write anything off now. I don't like that. It was that little bit of money that you got back was something you could look forward to. I mean, my kid was like, February's coming, I'm gonna get that check.
Yeah.
You know?
It doesn't happen anymore.
February came, no check. She was mad. She was really, because it's that, you know, I don't have to do everything for her. That's the money she deals with her grandkids with. She can do what she needs to do, and that money's gone. So if we're just working to pay taxes for stuff that isn't helping us, I don't see why we can't dip and get some of that.
Well, I think all of the candidates have mentioned that they're going to roll back a lot of the Republican tax code. The one that was just
he was good on that last night.
That was changed.
That was a huge topic last night. That was like a 30-minute part of the debate, was just the size of these companies and what they're each going to do. And then it went into some strange back and forth about whether Trump's Twitter account should be deleted.
Yeah, but I think Sunny's point is a really good one, right? Is that one of the reasons this is such an acute conversation is not only do we have companies paying a lot of money to avoid paying taxes, which I think is shameful, but we're also living in a reality where the Trump administration, with the Republicans in Congress, slashed corporate tax rates, right? And not only are they not paying their fair share, Whoopi, you know, they're not helping to be the world kind of that we want, I think, all our kids to grow up in. Help paying for clean water, paying for good infrastructure, paying for universal health care. They could be much better corporate citizens in ways they themselves are going to benefit.
That's a Republican idea anyway, that just the idea that companies should give so much more back to society. In the sense that, like, you know, for example, like my grandpa created a company, and he gave basically all of his money back to building a cancer hospital. Do what you can in your community, in your environment, to help the people around you, to help the people that you serve.
Well, that's generally the notion, right? The Republican notion. And Megan can speak to it better, but that the corporations are given these tax cuts because they think then they're going to hire more people. There'll be more jobs. They're going to put it, you know, back into the community. I don't see that happening. It seems like people are just reinvesting in their own companies, buying back their stock, and not necessarily investing in the communities where they're opening up stores, not raising salaries for people in their companies. So I don't know why that is still the notion, but that's, it doesn't seem to work.
We shouldn't trust them just to do that, right? That's why we need to have higher taxes on them, so that it is expected of them that they then do that.
And somebody said age came up yesterday. Is that correct?
It did. Yeah, and you know, it was Erin that asked a question, kept on asking questions about Bernie's heart attack, then went to, I think we have a clip, but then she went to Elizabeth Warren, and she also went to Biden, but didn't necessarily ask the younger folks on the stage. There's a clip they're telling me in my ear.
Let me invite you all to a major rally we're having in Queens, New York. That is how I think I can reassure the American people.
One of the reasons I am running is because of my age and my experience. With it comes wisdom.
I will outwork, outorganize, and outlast anyone, and that includes Donald Trump. Mike Pence, or whoever the Republicans get stuck with.
They clearly were all very vibrant last night. And just, again, like the juxtaposition to Trump, when he ran, we knew nothing about his health.
Right.
He still discloses...
Remember that doctor?
Yes.
The
Lebowski doctor. The handwritten note.
Yeah.
And now, you know, we still know very little about his health from his official...
He's 73 as well, so...
It makes me very upset, though, because I do think there was such an emphasis, at least for me at the time when my dad was running. He literally had to have journalists go to Mayo Clinic to go through to the point that, like, he apparently had a mole on his back that was removed that I didn't even know about. And there was an absolute obsession with his health.
Yeah.
And if my dad had had a heart attack mid-campaign, people be screaming bloody murder. So I am not ageist. You could be 100. My grandma's 108. She could run this country better than Trump, period. So I don't have a problem with age, but I would like to know, I think everyone should be, in the same way release your taxes, I think you should release your health records as well.
And there you go. We'll be back.
Thank you.
Great voting thing that actually we don't get to do, but this year's nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have been announced, and for the first time, Pat Benatar made the list. But she's been eligible for the past 15 years. What took them so long? There's a long list of women. Long list of women to get in there, and it's fabulous that she's been nominated. I love it. I'm voting for Pat.
Well, I love Pat Benatar, so I'll be voting for her too. But I do think it's important to recognize that only 69 of the 888 inductees into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame are women. So that's just over 7%.
It's not a lot of, a whole bunch of known, not high known, but well-known rock and roll women.
When Janet Jackson was inducted last year, she ended her speech saying, like, induct more women.
Yes. Gotta find them first. Gotta get
But do you know who isn't? Just really quick, Whitney Houston, Cher, Melissa Etheridge, Shaka Khan, Cyndi Lauper, the Go-Go's. Cher's not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Whitney Houston's not.
Although she's also nominated this year. So,
but in the year 2016, not a single woman
Shaka Khan
was even included in the induction. She also
So we had
talks
more
about
women running for president.
Yes,
16.
that is true.
That's true. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's right.
Yes.
But she talks about the fact that she was pressured, she wasn't rock and roll enough. And you hear this so often
Well, that's
from
the
these
thing.
big artists.
What's the definition
Lady
of
Gaga
rock and
said
roll?
the same thing.
Well,
for this inductee, because if you look at it,
Why
Billie
would somebody else
Holiday's
get to
there,
decide that?
Darlene Love, Donna Summer, Etta James, Nina Simone, the Supremes. When I think of Nina Simone, I think of jazz.
Yes, but there's no Jazz Hall of Fame, apparently.
Right, and so that means there could be a lot more women
I mean, no shade,
in
but
this
the
if
Dave
you're expanding the
Matthews Band
category.
is considered rock and roll.
I know.
They're a nominee
love
this year,
Dave
and
Matthews too, but-
I like Dave Matthews, whatever. I just don't consider it hard rock and roll.
Yeah, no,
it's when you think about rock and roll, it is very fluid.
night,
It
first
seems to be
time
very fluid when they talk about who should be in.
Yeah.
You know, so I think they're trying to figure it out as well.
Yeah.
Because no one is just one thing anymore.
Right.
Folks do lots of different kinds of things.
True.
Well, here's the thing.
Example A.
Well.
EGOT winner right here.
I mean-
well, Megan just read a list of people who could easily be inducted.
I mean, if you're going to...
Yeah.
When I look at the list, if you're going to have, you know, Nina Simone, Supreme, staple singers, why not some hip-hop artists? Why isn't Queen Latifah in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Why not Lil' Kim?
See, here's the thing.
I don't know. What's the
This
definition?
conversation, well, this conversation can go on and on and on. So you got to be glad about who's getting in, and then you need to write some letters about who you'd like to see in.
I'm about
because
to
I
write some
think,
letters.
Are you about to write some? Well, that's good. Because there's a whole slew of people who should be in there, in our opinion, in your opinion, in your opinion, that aren't considered rock and roll. And
Because you got Run DMC there.
They're not considered to be... They're not considered this, so they don't get to play here, but they play here, but they're not this. It's very confusing.
Fleetwood Mac was inducted last year, and I absolutely love Fleetwood Mac, but I really love Stevie Nicks. She's from Sedona, so I feel like we have like Arizona sisterhood. But I don't understand why she couldn't have just been inducted on her own, because she's a huge artist in her own right as well. So I have a little bit of an issue with that. Well, so.
But
you nominate her.
I'll nominate her.
2 women were inducted in Fleetwood Mac last year.
Yeah.
So that is not a bad thing. And
Stevie
you know
Nicks was with Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Who makes the
vote for
decision?
Pat
Is it like a group of people like this that get around a table?
No, it's
and
not a
decide?
group of people
You have
like
the
this.
support, Pat Benatar, from all of us.
Clearly not.
No, it's a whole group of folks who vote. Musicians.
Well, they're doing it wrong if only 7% are women.
Well,
Missy Elliott, Salt and Pepper.
Salt, pepper.
Just saying.
see, we're going to let them just go on and on.
MC Light.
There you are.
TLC.
We'll be right back.
TLC.
Megan, welcome back. Megan.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stevie Nicks was inducted into the Hall of Fame separately from Fleetwood Mac, but she deserves everything, so I don't care. Everything Stevie Nicks wants, she can have.
Let's find out if Sister Rosetta Thorpe has been inducted. She is really one of the huge influences on Chuck Berry. And if you don't know who Sister Rosetta Thorpe is, check her out on YouTube. I think you'll be quite surprised. Now, let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of parents, many parents, use security controls to keep the children from getting into trouble online. But apparently, most kids have no problem getting around all that. So, A, are you surprised that your kids can actually get around all your parental guidance? And B, is it new? Do you think that's a new thing, or have we always gotten around parental guidance?
Yeah. We've always gotten around it. I mean, for sure. I can't really I try to keep up with technology so that I can figure out what's going on.
Right.
But my kids circumvent it all the time.
So you're in the 90s now?
I'm kind of in the 90s.
Okay.
I'm
All
still
I know
kind
is
of in the 90s.
we have 2 remote controls for the TV, which is so complicated. You got to click about 20 buttons before it turns on. I walked in the other day, and my 1.5-year-old had Peppa Pig on, watching it by herself. No idea how she figured that out. No idea. I can't even do it. I call my husband every day of like, how do I change the channel?
Yeah, they're so
Still can't figure it out.
so tech savvy now. It's unbelievable.
No, I know, Whoopi, it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
You know what that is. They're like, look, I've been trying to give you signals. I want to watch Peppa Pig. I want Peppa Pig. I walked around, and now I know you're just busy, Mom. You got twins. Let me put Peppa on myself.
Yeah, they figure it out.
Because they know how to do their
You probably
watching.
get this too.
Well, I like to think that Charlotte and Aiden haven't figured out how to turn on the television yet, but now I'm thinking I need to go back and look at the monitors to see whether or not that's actually a valid assumption.
They're sneaky. They do it when you're
They are sneaky, but I think that we do need better tools as parents to ensure that we are controlling what particularly our little kids are watching, because we don't want them exposed to things that aren't kind of in the Peppa Pig
Watch the App Store app on your phone.
Yes.
You'll find that they'll buy things. My mom had that with my younger sister. She bought like hundreds of dollars of coins for some
for the in-game play.
Parents, you know what I'm talking about. Watch the App Store.
But when you were growing up, it was probably a little hard with Secret Service walking around. Like, did you get away with things?
I wasn't very rebellious, which now I kind of think is sad, actually.
You didn't have much of a choice.
I wish maybe I had been a little more rebellious.
It's okay. I wish I had been less. So why don't we meet someplace in the middle? I have no children. This isn't my problem. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. I don't sit in that chair.
Although,
so, Chelsea, if you sit in that chair, you'll get pregnant again. That's the pregnant chair.
Jasper's 2.5 months old.
By me. I just want to be clear. You're not getting pregnant sitting next to me. We'll be right back. Just the chair.
What happened when Alyssa Milano met face-to-face with Senator Ted Cruz after their Twitter debate on gun control laws? She's live on The View next. This week on The View, the topics are hotter than ever.
So I'm going a little bit rogue.
We got a hell of a show.
Plus, we've got James Spader,